How you doing, Keith? No, sir. Everything's good. Well, then I need to tell you, nothing changed there, okay? Says I'm not talking loud. I love to talk loud. Good morning. Welcome. It is a little bit past time for us to begin our Bible study together. Welcome. We may have some participating in class online, so welcome to you as well. And we would invite you to not just be a spectator, but read your Bible as well if you're online and follow along with us. Our Bible classes for the last several months have been tracking along with our congregational weekly reading schedule. And so if you were able to keep up with that reading schedule up to this current week, then we just completed week number 32, which would have included Judges chapter 1, Judges chapter 2, Psalm 106, Hebrews 2, Proverbs 3, and Psalm 32. So today, Sunday, August 9th, we will begin week 33 of that schedule. But our lesson this morning that we're going to study together will come from the assignments from week 32. And specifically, we're going to look at Judges chapter 1 and Judges chapter 2 together. And so I want you guys to prepare for that. But I'm going to give a 90-second recap of where we have been over the last few weeks to now bring us to this moment of Judges chapter 1 and Judges chapter 2. So this 90-second recap, we'll just quickly look at Joshua chapter 6 to 11. I'm not going to read it, but the recap covers that period of time. All right. So I want to invite you just to kind of take a look at the screen, because there's some visuals that might help us recall what the nation of Israel has been up to as it relates to the conquest of God's promised land, that is to say, the land of Canaan, which happened in 3 phases. Okay, so the conquest of the land of Canaan happened in 3 phases. I'm going to blow that up a little bit. So the first phase is what is often referred to as the so-called Central Campaign, which is recorded in Joshua chapter 6, 7, and 8. So I want to remind you, that's the River Jordan, that black line all the way up and down is the River Jordan. I want to remind you that as the nation of Israel was preparing to occupy the promised land, they started out in a city called Shittim, which is on the east side of the Jordan River, and their goal was to cross over the Jordan River heading west. And you might recall that God miraculously assisted them to cross over the Jordan River, much of the same way that he did the parting of the Red Sea. There was also a parting of the Jordan River where the nation crossed over on dry land. So they crossed over from Shittim over across the river, and in the Central Campaign, as they began to take over or dispossess the Canaanites in the Promised Land, there were 2 territories that they took over in this first part of the campaign. Jericho, you might recall, and after 2 attempts, they took the city of Ai. You remember that? All right, that was the Central Campaign. Now, so in Joshua 9 and 10, we also then see what is referred to as the Southern Campaign. So after they took Jericho, after they took Ai, then they crossed over in this second phase, and they took many, many more territories. They took a place called Gibeon, you might recall. They also took a place, I have it there as an X because historians aren't exactly sure where Azekah was, but Azekah is one of the places. Mecca is one of the places they took over in this southern campaign. Libnah is another. Lachish there, very, very south there. Eglon is one of the areas they took. Hebron is one of the areas they took. And then Debir is one of the places they took as well. And so Joshua, and by the way, you might be interested to know that Joshua gives, in Joshua chapter 12, we also see a complete listing of all the territories that Israel took under Joshua's leadership. But under the Southern Campaign, those are the areas that they took. And then finally, the last phase of them taking over is sometimes referred to as the Northern Campaign. And in the Northern Campaign, specifically the territory of Hazor is what they took. So again, 3 phases: Central, Southern, and the finally Northern, recorded in Joshua chapter 11. We are able to see the nation beginning to take over in earnest the nation, the land of Canaan. Okay, all right. So now, one more thing before we get to Judges chapter 1. One more thing. Now you might recall in Joshua chapters 13 through 21. Joshua chapters 13 through 21 goes over the division of the land that God had appointed for the nation of Israel. So you can already see on the map. You see at the northeast corner there, Manasseh. At the southwest corner, you see Judah and everything in between. That is how God apportioned the land to the nation of Israel. But I just want to remind you that when he did that, in Joshua chapter 13, God directs an aging Joshua. At this point, Joshua is over 100 years old, and he directs an aging Joshua to divide the rest of the land amongst the rest of the tribes. And so I just want to remind you that this is what God does, and this is how he does it. First of all, look at the green dots on the right side of the screen. The tribe of Reuben, the tribe of Gad, and the half tribe of Manasseh. Those tribes received their inheritance before any military fight. You might remember that's recorded for us in Numbers chapter 32. Before they do anything, God allows them to receive that inheritance on the condition that when it is time to cross over and fight, they would have to be the first tribe to do so. That was the condition. Then after that, if you continue reading through chapters 13 to 21, by lot, God directs Joshua and the priests and the elders to apportion the rest of the land. So I want to point these out to you, starting with the red dots. Judah is first to be apportioned, and then by lot, Ephraim, just north of that, and then after that, we have Manasseh, who gets the other half tribe of Manasseh gets that area. And then coming down south a little bit, Benjamin is next in order, who gets the area that you see there. Simeon, after Simeon, Zebulun gets their apportioned land. Just over or just below Zebulun is Issachar, gets their land assignment. Asher at the north there, and then Naphtali after that. And then coming down south to Dan is the final one, I believe. Yeah, Dan is the final one to receive their land. So just a couple things I want to point out to you about how this all played out. I have a trivia question for you, if I may. Which tribe did not receive a land apportionment? I see you. Let's see if we see any others who might want to raise their hand. Which tribe? Oh, well, Stephen had. Yes, sir. Which tribe did not receive the land apportionment, sir? Oh, man. One more time, Stephen. Nice and loud. The tribe of Levi. We have a youngster in our class this morning who is answering questions. Stephen, very proud of me. Yes, the tribe of Levi did not receive a land apportionment as did the other tribe. Does anyone remember why? Does anyone remember why they did not receive a portion of land? Anyone? All right, you had your hand up first, Jeff, so go for it.
I told you the service of the Lord was there.
One more time.
The service
Yes.
of the temple,
Yes.
the service of the Lord was there to be there.
Very good. So God, Numbers 18, also Joshua 14, reminds us that God said specifically to the tribe of Levi, who they were priests. They had their job was to manage all things God as it relates to temple worship and the care of the temple and so on and so forth. And so God made it clear to them that number one, he said that I will be your portion, and then he also designated the other tribes to make provisions for them. Okay, so that was my first trivia question. Here's my second one. And go ahead and flip over to Joshua chapter 14. If you're not there, go ahead and just take a moment to go to Joshua 14. I have a second trivia question, and then we're going to consider Judges chapters 1 and 2. So as you make your way to Joshua chapter 14, does anyone know roughly how long did it take? Roughly how long did it take? Sorry, Brother John. Roughly how long did it take for the nation of Israel to make their way from Egypt to the point where the land is divided up as you see on the screen? Is there anything that the scriptures give us any sort of hint or clue Now, first of all, we know it took at least how long because of the wanderers.
20 years.
So we know it took at least 40 years because they wanted that long, but it was even longer than that. There's something in Joshua 14 that gives us a clue. There's something in Joshua 14 that gives us a clue how long it roughly took from the time they left Egypt, give or take, to the time that they were actually made it to the point where not only did they cross over into the land, but that God had assigned the land to them. Mark, you got Joshua 14? Will you read, thank you, I'm going to lean on you. Will you read the first 7 verses of that, please?
Now these are the areas the Israelites received as an inheritance in the land of Canaan, which Eleazar the priest, Joshua son of Nun, and the heads of the tribal clans of Israel allotted to them. Their inheritances were assigned by lot to the 9.5 tribes as the Lord had commanded to Moses. Moses had granted the 2.5 tribes their inheritance east of the Jordan, but had not granted the Levites an inheritance among the rest, for the sons of Joseph had become 2 tribes, Manasseh and Ephraim. The Levites received no share of the land, but only towns to live in, with pasture lands for their flocks and herds. So the Israelites divided the land, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. Now the men of Judah approached Joshua at Gilgal, and Caleb, son of Jephunneh, the Kenizzite, said to him, "You know what the Lord said to Moses, the man of God, in Kadesh Barnea, about you and me. I was 40 years old when Moses, the servant of the Lord, sent me from Kadesh Barnea to explore the land. I brought them back a report according to my convictions."
Excellent. And keep that, I know from verse 7, so we're going to keep going for 8, 9, and 10. But I want you to see here what Mark just read in verse 7. This is Caleb talking. Caleb was one of the spies that was sent out. You guys remember that? And he, and only he, and who came back with a favorable or faithful report? Joshua. Very good. All right. So when that spy mission happened, Caleb reveals that he was 4 years old when he was on that spy detail. He was 40 when he was on the spy detail before they even crossed over into the land. Keep going, Mark 8, 9, and 10, please.
But my brothers who went up with me made their hearts of the people melt with fear. I, however, followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly. So on that day Moses swore to me, "The land on which your feet have walked will be your inheritance, and that of your children forever, because you have followed the Lord my God wholeheartedly." Now then, just as the Lord promised, he kept me alive for 45 years since the time he said this to Moses, while Israel moved about in the desert. So here I am today, 85 years old.
Excellent. There's a time stamp that the Bible gives us that gives us an approximation. And this isn't from the day that they left Egypt, but certainly from the day or from the moment when they spy out the land. This is when they encounter Rahab. Caleb was how old when they went to spy out the land? 40. And how old is he now that the land has been apportioned? How old is he now? 85. So we have 45 years that have elapsed from at least the time that they spy out the land to the point where God has now apportioned the land. Now you can add some more time to that, given, from when they left Egypt and crossed the Red Sea and so on and so forth. But that gives us a sense of how long this process really took. All right. So you guys are doing great. So now I want to turn our attention to Judges, which is the book that follows Joshua. So just keep turning. If you're in Joshua 14, keep turning a few pages more until we get to the book of Judges, chapters 1 and 2. I'm going to need some readers, some additional readers this morning, and I will try to get you guys assigned here in just a second. But I want to level set what we can expect to read in the book of Judges. I want to level set a few things just to get our minds oriented. Number one, the book of Judges kicks off a span of Israel's next approximately 300 years after the death of Joshua. So when the period of the judges begins, that marks about the next 300 to 350 years of the experiences of the nation of Israel after Joshua dies. That's the first thing. Number two, the period of the judges marks Israel's dark ages in terms of the nation's characteristic apostasies. That word apostasies means those instances when they turned away from God. The period of the judges, we see over and over again a cycle of them falling away from God, being delivered and forgiven. Falling away from God, being delivered and being forgiven. Falling away from God, being delivered and being over and over and over again. Number three, the judges were not so much legal experts or that like people presiding in courtrooms. I want you to think of them that way. They were actually military reformers who were appointed by God, and get this, to serve individual tribes and to deliver them from threats of harm and danger that they would get. So you did not have a judge that served over the entire nation the way Moses did, the way Joshua did. Think of it almost like governors of the United States. In that sense, right? Like in the sense that we have these 50 states and each has its own sort of top leader, right? It's a similar principle, right? And so this is kind of gives us an idea of this. And the last thing I'll share is, depending on how you count them, there were certainly at least 12 judges for sure, but 12 to 15 judges, depending on how you count them, one of whom was a woman. What was her name? Yeah. All right. So this sort of level sets forth what we've got now. I need, I don't know, 2 readers, 4 readers, I don't know. This is what we're going to take up this morning. Anyone willing to read? Anyone? Laura, yes. Laura says yes. I need at least one. Mark says yes. All right. So it'll be the Boozer show this morning. All right, Laura, you're going to kick us off with Judges chapter 1, and just as you see the verses of portion, if you would read and then sort of stop, and then Mark, you'll do all of chapter 2, okay? All right, so Judges chapter 1, first 10 verses, what does that say?
After the death of Joshua, the Israelites asked the Lord, "Who of us is to go up first to fight against the Canaanites?" The Lord answered, "Judah shall go up. I have given the land into their hands." The men of Judah then said to the Canaanites, their fellow Israelites, "Come up with us into the territory allotted to us to fight against the Canaanites. We in turn will go with you into yours." So the Simeonites went with them. When Judah attacked, the Lord gave the Canaanites and Perizzites into their hands, and they struck down 10,000 men at Bezek. It was there they found Adonai Bezek and fought against him, putting to rout the Canaanites and Perizzites. Adonai-Bezek fled, but they chased him and caught him and cut off his thumbs and beat tethers. Then Adonai-Bezek said, 70 kings with their thumbs and big toes cut off have picked up scraps under my table. Now God has paid me back for what I did to him. They brought him to Jerusalem and he died there. Men of Judah attacked Jerusalem also for some years. They put the city to the sword and set it on fire. After that, Judah went down to fight against the Canaanites living in the hill country in Negev and western Philippines. They advanced against the Canaanites living in Ephraim, formerly called Kiriath Arba, and defeated Shishai, Ahaman, and Talmai.
All right, we'll hold up. That's the first 10. We'll hold up there just for a second, and I'll have you jump back in to read verses 11 through 26. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Good job, by the way, of reading all those names. So I just want to make sure we understand what's happening. God has already assigned the land, but even though he has assigned the land, there are still Canaanite nations living there that need to be driven out. And so the first group to go to their land to drive out the Canaanites is the tribe of Judah. And that's what Laura just read. And Judah invited another tribe to help them. What was that other tribe? Seven. All right, very good. So the first groups, if you will, who are going now into their assigned territory to drive out the inhabitants of the land is Judah with the help of city. That's what we got so far. So now, Laura, if you don't mind, 11 through 26, please.
From there, they advanced against the people living in Beer, formerly called Syriac Settler. And Caleb said, I will give my daughter Aksa in marriage to the man who attacks and captures Syriac Settler. Othniel, son of Kenaz, Caleb's younger brother, took it. So Caleb gave his daughter Aksa to him in marriage. One day, when she came to Othniel, she urged him to ask her father for a field. When she got off the donkey, Caleb asked her, what can I do for you? She replied, do me a special favor. Since you have given me land in the Negev, give me also springs of water. So Caleb gave her the upper and lower springs. The descendants of Moses' father-in-law, the Kenite, went up from the city of Palms with the people of Judah to live among the inhabitants of the desert of Judah in the Negev near Arab. Then the men of Judah went with the Simeonites, their fellow Israelites, and attacked the Canaanites living in Zebah, and they totally destroyed the city. Therefore it was called Hormah. Judah also took Gaza, Ashkelon, and Ekron, each city with its territory. The Lord was with the men of Judah. They took possession of the hill country, but they were unable to drive the people from the plains because they had chariots fitted with iron. As Moses had promised, Hebron was given to Caleb. He drove it from the 3 sons of Dan. The Benjamites, however, did not drive out the Jebusites who were living in Jerusalem. To this day, the Jebusites lived there with the Benjamites. Now the tribes of Joseph attacked Bethel, and the Lord was with them. When they sent men to spy out Bethel, formerly called Luz, the spies saw men coming out of the city, and they said to him, show us how to get into the city, and we will see that you are treated well. So he showed them, and they put the city to the sword, but spared the man and his whole family. He then went to the land of the Hittites, where he built a city and called it, which is named to this day.
Very good. We're going to hold up here before we conclude chapter 1. I just want to point out to you as we continue reading, I want to call your